Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we take a look at the astrological energies from July 17th until July 24th, where we have a lot of big astrology unfolding, including big transits on July 21st and July 22nd. So we will cover all of that in today's show, as well as some important messages about the opportunities that are opening up for you now because of the big transits of this week. Now, before we dive into it, I just want to make note of how the astrology played out over the previous weekend, where we had Mars conjunct Uranus, both conjunct Algol at 26 degrees of Taurus. And if you listened to last Wednesday's podcast, we discussed those energies as being related to shock, surprise, anger, violence, decapitation, death, mob violence. You get the idea. It was a once in a lifetime conjunction, considering that both Mars and Uranus were conjunct this point, and Mars and Uranus will not be conjunct again until both are in Gemini, which will occur in July 2026. And that's because Mars has a 2-year orbit through all 12 astrology signs. So we had this very intense energy that played out on the world stage as an attempted assassination on presidential candidate Donald Trump, and we never know how the astrology is going to play out, and you certainly can't predict it, but I was really amazed at how it did play out. So now we're on the other side of the intensity of this energy as Mars moves on into Gemini, and then Mars will enter Cancer, and Mars will have its final opposition to Pluto in Capricorn on November 3rd. Mars will be at 29 degrees of Cancer. Pluto will be at 29 degrees of Capricorn before moving back into Aquarius, where Pluto will stay. So we're going to have heightened energies related to this particular story in November. This is the weekend before the US election. And it's safe to say we are in uncharted territory, because not only is this Mars going to have an opposition to Pluto right before the election, but Uranus is moving to 27 degrees of Taurus and is going to square the natal moon in Aquarius in the US astrology chart. So we are moving through more turbulence and shakeups. The energy is going to intensify and be surprising. And I say this and offer this so that you understand what you can do for yourself, how to care for your energy and your nervous system, how to be aware of what's coming up in your emotions or your fears, and to know that all of this can contribute to your energetic mastery in terms of how to calm and empower yourself as we move through this powerful cycle. There will still be surprises. What if there is no election? What if things go in a totally different direction? What if the ascended energies on the planet break up political structures, outdated structures, patriarchal structures that are no longer what's good for humanity? What if the consciousness on the planet cannot be contained within a two-party system anymore? What if, as we continue to move through this Pluto return energy, which is still strong as Pluto returns to 29 degrees of Capricorn, we are seeing the revolution unfold in the collective and individually that shakes things up in drastic ways, and we get to the heart of the energy, which is about the evolution of humanity, how we have more light on the planet than ever before that is bursting through us and changing these systems and no longer wanting to be perhaps contained or to work within them. So just some food for thought, just some things to throw out there that the next few months are going to be a wild ride. And we have never been here before, but it can also be powerfully affirming of how we as a collective are evolving and changing during this grand ascension journey. And I'm holding the intention for safety, for great peace, whenever possible, for energies to not be amplified or accelerated, and that wherever And however things play out, it's for the best and highest good of all. And everything I just mentioned here is also highlighted in this weekend's Capricorn Full Moon, happening at 29 degrees of Capricorn, which I'll get to shortly. So over this week, starting on July 18th, we have two lovely transits on July 18th. The Sun in Cancer sextiles Uranus and Taurus at 26 degrees. This is still working with the energies of the conjunction between Mars, Uranus, and Algol. And the Sun brings in care and comfort, brings in a way to nurture yourself, to shake things off, to return to a sense of safety, and to look at what you need to take care of your energy system. So this is a powerful time to understand, well, what was shaken up within you at a personal level or collective level? Where do you need to honor what is best for your energy at this time? And how can that Sun in Cancer provide a level of safety and comfort that might feel right on time? Now, we also have on the same day, July 18th, Mercury in Leo trining Chiron in Aries at 23 degrees. Mercury is now in retrograde shadow. And so this makes us more aware of what's coming up because it's a heads up that we're going to work through it some more into September, which is how long the Mercury shadow territory lasts. So as Mercury in Leo trines Chiron in Aries, it brings about new perspectives, alternative ideas and approaches. It also emphasizes a healing path or healing concept that you might be ready to try. This could be invitational, where that Chiron in Aries is inviting you into something that feels like it's in alignment, it suits you, and it supports an area of growth that you are motivated to follow. And that's because when we have the planets in fire signs trining each other, it perpetuates forward movement. So there could be something here where you say, yes, I want that. I want to try that. Let me see where that goes. Let me see if that is a good fit for me. So overall, this is a very creative energy. It is supportive of going a different route or following a path that maybe you thought wasn't best or wasn't suitable, and now it is. And that's something that Chiron offers in Aries, are new things to try to see if it is good for you and your energy. Then we move on to July 20th, where we have Mars energy here on July 20th. Mars in Taurus sextiles Neptune retrograde in Pisces at 29 degrees before Mars enters Gemini on July 20th, which occurs at 4:43 p.m. Eastern Time. So before Mars moves into Gemini, he surrenders something to Neptune. He surrenders something that he realizes, I don't need this, I don't want this. Mars in Taurus has been very determined, stable, steady, security focused. There's things that you've had to stay the course with, and Mars in Taurus is strong with that. Mars is able to move things through to completion. But on July 20th, there could be something that you're realizing, I'm good with this. I'm good with how it's turned out. I'm satisfied with the energy I've put into it. I'm happy with the outcome. And that sextile to Neptune and Pisces brings about that satisfaction and the ability to let it go. Let it be what it is, to not force it, and to also give yourself a break. So you might feel like you're ready for something more enjoyable, calm, and peaceful. This could be very healing for the body. It also could bring in an understanding of where you've been overly attached or overly invested in something. And that sextile to Neptune helps you step back and lean back and realize, okay, I don't have to control this. I don't have to overly manage this. I can let it go. And that then opens up new energy, which is right on time for Mars entering Gemini. Now, this transition into Gemini is where the pace of life speeds up. You could feel like your days are fuller. There's more you need to get done. And Mars in Gemini can handle it. In fact, Mars in Gemini loves stimuli, loves interesting things, ideas, conversations, and wants to move quickly. This can be one of the fastest moving Mars in the zodiac, and you might feel up for it. You could feel that you physically rev up your energy, you're ready to go, and that you feel infused to take things forward. Now, this is not only a fast moving, but a fast thinking Mars. So it's important to make sure that those two parts of yourself are in sync, meaning you're not tripping over your own feet as you pick up the pace, and that your body is in alignment with what is going on in your mind. This Mars wants things to move ahead in multiple directions of life. And those are the areas of life that get busier. So you would look at where you have the beginning of Gemini in your chart by house placement. Wherever you have 0 degrees of Gemini, here comes Mars ready to go and to put those ideas into motion. Keep in mind that this Mars can also talk too fast, have too much going on, can overcommit and underdeliver. So make sure you're not taking on too much and then you forget about it. Forget where you said yes to seeing a friend and then you don't put on your calendar. Forget where you need to finish something and instead get started on something else. There's a restlessness with Mars and Gemini, and there's inconsistency. And so this is a Mars that is well equipped to do short-term projects that honor his speed, because Gemini is the sprinter. So here we have Mars sprinting through Gemini, and if you use this energy wisely, you will get a lot done, and you will feel that some things just line up and they move faster, and that it could be easier than you anticipated. Mars and Gemini can also bring in more ideas and thoughts to the brain and create more anxiety, so be sure to manage that with a consciousness of what you can control, what you can handle, what you can do, and what you cannot. And that can be a beneficial way to filter the energy of Mars and Gemini, where you could be more decisive, which is a strength here, a learned strength with Mars and Gemini. You know what to say yes to, and you know what to say no to. This Mars is stronger and more energized through the final weeks of July. So this is a great time to not only continue with whatever's in front of you, but to see how far it can go and to get as much done before we move into August, where in August we have Mercury retrograde beginning on August 4th. And then we're also going to have a significant dance between planets in the mutable signs, which includes this Mars in Gemini, where he is going to be conjunct Jupiter in Gemini. That will happen at 16 degrees on August 14th. But Mars is also going to be squaring Saturn and squaring Venus. And because he's in Gemini, the sign ruled by Mercury, he's also going to be affected by Mercury retrograde. So I will be going through that more, and I have some videos for you of the chart that I'll be releasing on YouTube shortly. But just a heads up that July is a better time period to move things forward, because August does have more changes, more reroutes and detours, more things to correct, and it will be a time to slow down. So just a heads up on what's to come here as we continue through July and into August. And so now we move to one of the biggest energies this week on July 21st. July 21st has a number of aspects, and the aspects all involve personal planets interacting with outer planets, plus the Capricorn full moon at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And that's the energy that will begin July 21st, because this full moon occurs at 6:17 a.m. That's Eastern time. And it is the second Capricorn full moon we have in the cycle at 29 degrees of Capricorn. This is a completion point. It is where you're meant to make decisions based on what is, not on what was, not on potential, but this is the Capricorn practical lens where you take responsibility for what has developed, what has played out, and you're understanding what works and what doesn't work. And that is something that Capricorn assesses. And this is where you make decisions on what needs to go and complete and what you stay with. When we have a second full moon in Capricorn, there could be more that you're realizing you don't want, you don't need, you don't want to be responsible for it, you don't want to be committed to it. The full moon is, of course, opposing the sun in Cancer, which is highlighting what you're emotionally attached to. And there can be an internal struggle around, I know I need to do this, but it doesn't feel good. Or I know I should do this, and this is the better thing to do, especially for the long term, but I don't want to let it go. And that sun in Cancer has been learning what it means to trust what you're feeling, but the full moon with Capricorn is about personal responsibility. Even if you feel some way or you're attached or feel connected to a part of your life, wherever you have 29 degrees of Cancer in your chart, this second full moon in Capricorn is coming back around to check in and be like, does this serve you in the future? Is this part of your long-term path? Where is this going? And is it good for you? So we're being asked to make responsible choices. The full moon is also conjunct Pluto in Aquarius at 0 degrees. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius conjunct this full moon brings in a heightened sense of what you're really feeling about the future, how something's going to work, how it's going to fit with where you want to go or where you need to go. That Pluto in Aquarius is a reminder of how deeply we are changing and we don't have it all figured out. So don't expect yourself to, but there's a part of you that is reminding you that a new chapter is coming. It's on its way. And so carefully assess if whatever you're deciding is something that fits in your new chapter and your next steps, or if ultimately it's holding you back and it's connected to a previous cycle that's ending and closing out. Both the sun and the moon are connecting with Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. Neptune is retrograde, and this signals a letting go that you can trust, a closing out that you can release with faith. And it could be that if you're having any kind of emotional block to the letting go, Neptune is going to assist you in dissolving that and releasing it. So there is support here for the endings that are on their way and already unfolding. And a part of you really knows that. Again, even though there might be that internal back and forth. Also remember that the sun in Cancer just sextiled Uranus and Taurus on July 18th. So just a few days before the Capricorn full moon. And so that could have given you a new lease on something, more excitement around what's to come and what's possible, but in a inspired way. That energy is also a part of the Capricorn full moon. Now, as I mentioned, each of the personal planets interacts with an outer planet. So we also have Venus in Leo sextiling Jupiter in Gemini at 12 degrees on July 21st. And that is fun and creativity and friends and doing something that brings you life, that makes you happy. This can be very social, but this is about fulfilling your energy with joy and perhaps letting that inner child do something that you haven't done in a while. So bringing new life into what feels good to you. This can certainly support love, relationships, connections. This can be energizing for something you want to share with another or something you just want to do for yourself as well. So it's a lovely transit whenever Venus connects with Jupiter and has new outlets for expression, happiness, laughter, and noticing the good things in life, noticing how to make the most of whatever is in front of you now. Venus sextiling Jupiter is also felt in a strong way, in a big way. So you could get a very clear message here around what would light you up and make you happy over the weekend. We also have Mercury in Leo squaring Uranus in Taurus at 26 degrees, and that would be a change in plans where you thought one thing would happen and it went another direction, or it could even show up as an upgrade, as an improvement, as a better development than what you originally thought. So this is a very exciting energy. You could have some surprising conversations or revelations come through. Whenever Mercury is squaring Uranus, pay attention to your transportation, whether that's your car, subway, bike, hoverboard, or rollerblades, because there could be an accident with that Uranian surprise. But I tend to see this as a more positive square because Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So they're already in a frequency match, but when there's a square, they're focused on different things. And then here comes Uranus and Taurus, which zings Mercury in Leo with a new development. So just be extra cautious on your hoverboard this weekend because this square can be fast moving too, where all of a sudden an accident occurs or something happens out of the blue. And then, because we're not done with July 21st, we also have that Mars now in Gemini making a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 0 degrees. This is fantastic for forward movement, for taking an energized idea out into the world or doing something with it that allows it to grow and be stronger. Mars trining Pluto is essentially Pluto giving a force of energy to that Mars intention. So stay mindful of what you are thinking and what you are saying. These are air signs, Mars in Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius. Your words are powerful. What you're saying, you will speak into existence. And in fact, this is how we manifest. So this is actually beautiful manifestation energy when you use it intentionally. It actually reminds me of the work of Florence Scovel Shinn, who was a female author in the early 20th century, a woman ahead of her times, as she in fact self-published her wisdom and her writings in the 1920s. And she even birthed the concept of affirmations. She was known for being a New Thought spiritual teacher, and she wrote some really phenomenal books that are timeless. They're still relevant today, called The Game of Life and How to Play It, Your Word is Your Wand, The Power of the Spoken Word, The Secret Door to Success. Keep in mind, she self-published at a time when women weren't allowed to publish, or it was very, very difficult for them to publish through the traditional means. So her books came out in the 1920s, and she taught these spiritual principles about what you think is what manifests and how powerful words are. So I recommend her books, of course. One of my spiritual teachers introduced me to her back in 2002, 2003, which is when my own awakening occurred. And it feels fitting to focus on the affirmations you are not only speaking, but thinking, and how you are using your power to create the life you want. So nowadays we see affirmations everywhere. There are multiple ways that we understand the energies on the planet and various spiritual principles, but I'm being drawn to share Florence Scovel Shinn because she was a true pioneer in this metaphysical field, and her work is no longer under copyright. So you'll find it used everywhere. There's tons on YouTube. There's people who have published her books and her teachings on Amazon. And this particular Capricorn Full Moon with Mars in Gemini trining, Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 0 degrees could be a wonderful time to return to what you want to manifest and create, as well as establish new affirmations for yourself that will fit and be in alignment with the direction and creation of those manifestations. So July 21st, very big day with a lot of astrology happening. Then on July 22nd, we're not done yet because the sun enters Leo at 3:44 a.m. Eastern Time and then receives an immediate opposition from Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 0 degrees. And there's a few things that I want to unpack here. So as the sun leaves Cancer, the intention of Cancer was to help you develop more responsibility and maturity around your needs, your self-care, your emotional world, what you feel about yourself and how you trust yourself. The energy of Cancer is where we come in contact with our vulnerabilities and the parts of ourselves that we don't always know what to do with, especially if they're from the past. If you're attached to a previous experience or a memory or something from your family and it shaped you and it formed you, Cancer wants to help you continue to flush that out and move through it so that you can release what's not yours and stand in greater trust in who you are, what you need, and what matters now. Then the sun enters Leo next in our astrological wheel. And I feel this is an important transition. And this is why. Because the first 4 signs of the zodiac were an initiation into who you really are. The journey begins in Aries, which is the self-identification process. Who am I? What am I about? What matters to me? What do I want to create? And the Aries energy is about the initiation of self into the physical world, where you are your own individual being, you are sovereign. So where do you want to take that energy? How do you want to be in the world based on that connection to yourself? Then the energy moves into Taurus, grounding, practical, stabilizing, looks at what is and understands what your energy needs at a core level to feel grounded in the reality that you live in, to determine basic needs, and to connect with more of what you value, what brings meaning into your life, and what do you want to build that matters to you. Then the energy goes into Gemini, which is expanding out into the bigger world, connecting with siblings, peers, others around you, talking, communicating, learning the power of thought, being curious about yourself and others, asking questions, gaining information, gaining an education, and being more mobile, where you're not only in your own energy, but now you're interacting with others and exploring and experimenting with what you enjoy. Then we go into Cancer, which is the energy of a home base, listening to your feelings, understanding what you like, what you don't like, what is arising in you, to pay attention to trust, to get out of the mind and access more of your feelings, your heart, and your truth that reside in every passing moment. The Cancer energy will take you into more of your own personal depths and also bring up where you came from and how those energies have shaped and formed you. So these first 4 signs of the zodiac are about the self-development process and take us through each of the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. Then the energy moves into Leo, which is the 5th sign of the zodiac and the 2nd fire sign, which is fixed fire and wants to support stabilizing your core self based on what you've learned through these previous 4 zodiac signs. And so the Leo energy is where we harness greater strength and courage to be ourselves based on what we've learned about our needs, our abilities, our desires. And this is the energy too that will help you move through any vulnerabilities or insecurities that the Cancer energy brought up in you. Because now that Leo energy wants you to declare, this is me. This is what aligns. This is what strengthens me. I feel it in my solar plexus and I have greater clarity around what is true for me. And now I'm going to create from that. So as the energy moves into the next fire sign, there can be a revival of self. There can be a sense of, I'm ready for this. I want to do this. This is what's best for me. Also, there can be a sense of, I don't want this. I'm done with that. That isn't true for me anymore. And so the fixed fire wants you to honor and love who you are, what you've learned about yourself, and to live from that place. Now, the sun in our solar system is connected to Leo. And so now the sun is in its home sign of Leo, where it burns the brightest. And the sun, being the biggest energy source in our solar system, is expanding our light. And that's something to keep in mind here as the sun moves through Leo is, what do you want to expand in your life force, in your creative power, in your sense of self? How to do so in a healthy way, from the healthy ego that feels pride in a healthy sense, not overly prideful or boastful. The sun in Leo can be more bold because it is strengthened, and the sun is naturally energized when it's in its home signs. So I feel this is a time of year when we have new cosmic light codes coming through that the sun wants us to receive, wants us to feel and experience, and to be receptive to that energy as well. So more can come to life when the sun is in Leo. But at the same time, on July 22nd, there's that opposition from Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 0 degrees. And this is the first time in our lifetime that the sun in Leo is opposing Pluto in Aquarius. The first time ever. And so there's something being brought to life and brought to light around Pluto and your fears, Pluto and your shadow. Pluto is bringing to the forefront a fear you're facing that's requiring new courage, requiring a rebirth, and requiring also a journey into the depths at a core level of your own limitations. These are both fixed signs that don't budge, that are resistant to change, that rely on a stable life force to support it. And here comes Pluto blasting that apart, saying, actually, you're not as courageous as you thought you were, and here's the fear. And so this opposition is going to bring up more to understand and work through. I also feel, however, that Pluto in Aquarius is directly connected to our multidimensional growth and expansion. And so your multidimensional self is highlighting the limitations of your light in a certain reality. Perhaps the limitation of where you want to take a risk, but you're afraid, of how you want to create, but you haven't done it before. Something is scary. It's unnerving. It's bringing up things in you that you haven't faced before, and yet it's a big part of your soul journey in this lifetime. And part of the fear is that, like, I'm getting this new angle, this visual of a new angle of the sun, where it's like you're seeing yourself in a new light, and maybe it doesn't feel so good at first. It doesn't feel so empowering. It doesn't shine so bright. And Pluto dims the sun's natural rays and exuberance in Leo, which honestly, it can feel quite big, significant in your life. It can feel catastrophic at first. Pluto demolishes and destroys as part of that transformational journey. And that can be very scary because you don't know where it goes. And it is working with something at a core level of your being that you'd rather not look at, rather not face. And honestly, you might not want to change it at all. But the universal assignment here is that yes, it's going to change. Yes, it will evolve. But here comes a lot of things that you've got to be honest with yourself about. Pluto requires brutal honesty, raw emotion, the core truth. And so that is a big deal. It's happening right after this Capricorn full moon, where both energies involve Pluto. It highlights how is the shadow interacting with the light? How is the light interacting with the shadow? But it can give you the courage to face something, to make a change in the name of your personal evolution, to allow yourself to become dismantled, to recreate, to allow your sense of self, Leo, to evolve with these new multidimensional levels of consciousness that Pluto in Aquarius is accessing. So when Plutonic energies are heightened and bigger, we do need to be more conscious of the parts of ourselves we've avoided or we've pushed away, the parts of ourselves that actually speak in very raw energy. And it comes out at a primal level. This is the dance between you and everyone else. The sun in Leo is the entertainer, the performer, the speaker, the one in the limelight. And Pluto in Aquarius is the audience, the people, the collective. So there could be some big themes between the individual and the collective forces over this weekend and into early next week. At its highest, new levels of awareness are coming through around what is needed on the ascension process, what we need to leave behind, what we can no longer perpetuate or allow to continue. There is an intensity to this energy as well. And because it's happening for the first time in our life, a new chapter begins here. Especially because it's happening at 0 degrees. 0 degrees of Leo, 0 degrees of Aquarius. A new chapter is being required to start, ready or not. Pluto wins. Pluto dominates. So the old has to go. And the sun is feeling this intensity for the first time. Now, back in January of 2024, we had the sun conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. That was January 19th and 20th, when both moved into Aquarius together. Perhaps you'll recall that was quite a big deal. Now they're on opposite sides. And there's something that occurred in January of this year that perhaps you've been required to work through, to sit with, to understand, to emotionally process. And now the opposition between the Sun and Pluto brings up another side of that energy. After that conjunction, now they're in an opposition and you're seeing things differently. You're seeing yourself differently. Perhaps something's being mirrored back or projected back to you that you don't like, that you're not proud of, that you're not happy about. And Pluto is reminding you that the assignment was given in January, and where do you stand with that? How have you evolved through it, moved through it? Have you not? How would you evaluate that for yourself? Because that same assignment is going to carry out and be part of this cycle between the Sun and Pluto. Our core selves are changing. We are becoming more multidimensional. We are becoming more aware of our energetic powers and what it means to be an energetic being, to be more of a cosmic citizen, which is Pluto in Aquarius, elevating us. And then we have to leave things behind that maybe we're heavily attached to, which is true for each of the fixed signs. So we are needing to step up and go higher. And there's a part of us that doesn't want to, that doesn't understand or doesn't get the value of it just yet. But it is part of our collective assignment and our ascension path. So again, big energies here, especially July 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Stay mindful and conscious of what's coming up for you personally, where your fears are being triggered, perhaps where your shadow is getting louder, and understand that's exactly the door to walk through. That is exactly what you want to face. That's the invitation, because that's also where you're going to access new potentials and energies that are waiting for you, even if it is uncertain or scary at first. The other part of this is I just see the standoff where Pluto is saying, come this way. And the Sun in Leo is saying, no, I don't want to. I'm not going to. And Pluto says, okay, suit yourself. But the same theme will continue to arise as the Sun makes the next square and conjunction to Pluto. And because Pluto shows no mercy, there's something about how difficult do you want to make your own evolutionary journey? Because that is your choice. And with these fixed signs, resisting or being difficult or not cooperating with the evolutionary journey, matters could be more extreme or could get tougher. But Pluto always wins with the evolution that's necessary, especially newly in Aquarius, where even though Pluto journeys back into Capricorn starting September 1st until November 22nd, then Pluto re-enters Aquarius and stays there for 20 years. And on the other hand, you can make big quantum leaps when you embrace the themes and intentions of Pluto. Your life changes permanently. Things evolve in ways you could never imagine. You step into more of your power. You allow this process of transformation to be for your best and highest good without having answers or understanding, but knowing that this is exciting at a soul level. Your soul's frequency is absolutely supporting this and knows you're ready for it in this lifetime as well. So big Pluto energies this weekend, which means take care of yourself, stay mindful, stay aware, and stay honest. Stay honest with yourself, because that will also pay off. So as we move into Leo season, and if your birthday is coming up in July, August, or September, it's the perfect time to check out what your solar return energies are going to be over the next 12 months. And I can help you learn about that energy signature in your chart. I have an online course that is 50% off with coupon code birthday, and it guides you through what is coming up in your solar return. So the solar return is where your natal sun returns to its exact position by degree and minute to where it was on your birthday. And keep in mind, your solar return could occur a day before or even a day after the day you celebrate. And it can be in any house in your chart. And this will be the focal point for you and your personal growth, confidence, and development over the next 12-month cycle. Your solar return also shows you key themes you'll be working with, including where changes are going to happen based on where the moon is located. We look at what it means if you have retrograde planets in your solar return. You'll want to know your ascendant, as this will be the energy you are exuding in your aura in the year ahead, and so much more. So please check out this course. It's on my website. It's also going to be below this podcast, How to Read Your Solar Return Chart. You just buy it once and then you can access it for years to come. So also a reminder to those of you who have purchased it to log back in and check out what this next cycle is going to bring for you, where you can go through all of the teaching videos and understand what your solar return energies will be. So I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new podcast episode. Thank you all for joining me. It is delightful to gather together to speak this language of astrology and to understand ourselves as we move through these energies together. Have a beautiful week ahead, and I'll see you back here soon.